This video is the first in a three-part series of energy healings for anxiety. In this video, I'd like to explore the relationship between our conception of time and the experience of anxiety and do some energy healing to help promote a softer, better experience for everyone and hopefully a broader comprehension of time. We tend to have three basic conceptions of time. One is that time is a sequential unfoldment of moments with past, present, and future. The second is that time is a cyclic phenomenon that keeps rolling around and we keep experiencing the same reality over and over again. And the last is that time is an eternal continuum of now. All three of these perspectives are valid and have their place. The important thing for us as humans is to be able to embrace all three and to bring them together in an integrated fashion so that we are able to have the broadest possible comprehension of what time actually is. Anxiety arises from a predominance of that first perspective. Without the other two perspectives, there's a lack of balance in the system. From the initial perspective that there's past, present, and future, and we're experiencing them as a sequential unfoldment, the tendency is, when we look into the past, to see clearly and more detail at the recent past. And then the further we go into the deep past, impressions and memories fade. And what we're left with is more the feeling that was there, whatever the feeling was of the past experience. When we look into the future, it's a kind of similar dynamic that the immediate future is more easily predicted. And then the further we look out into the future, the more vague or abstract the vision becomes. The tendency is to look into the past experiences and those emotional patterns associated with them, and then predict that this is how the future will also go. And it's right there at that spot that the anxiety kicks in. At this point, I just like to look out into the YouTube collective, out into the world, to everybody who's watching, and see what we can do to support some healing for this situation. And the first thing that I'm seeing is the presence of ancestral energies. That means we're working at a molecular level of the physiology. At the molecular level of the physiology, one of the most important things we do is process experience in the form of the digestive process. The very finest, like where the rubber meets the road in the digestive process, is where the nutritional, the molecules of various nutrients go into the cell and then meet with the mitochondria and are broken down to such small degrees that actually we experience those nutritional elements as our very own self. So we're looking at ancestral experience, and we're looking at how that relates to our own experience. As I mentioned before, what we're usually left with in terms of memories are feelings. All experiences, all past experiences are for the sake of evolution. They're not always interpreted that way. So the first thing that we're looking at is how there are habits and patterns. And I'm seeing the habits and patterns sitting, looks like in the digestive system for a lot of people. The habits and patterns of interpreting experience in a dark way, if we will, if that's a good word to use, in a way which is hopeless or feelings of powerlessness, rather than recognizing what the lesson was to be learned in a particular situation, just feeling hopeless and unhappy. This habit, sitting in the digestion, also sitting at an emotional level of the physiology, is held by ancestors as well as by your physiology. So this part of the healing is working to support everybody's ability to Recognize the evolutionary seed or core of any experience. It's very useful to do that. One reason it's so useful to do that is because of the perspective of time being cyclic, that if each time a cycle rolls through, we learn something, knowledge expands, consciousness expands, resources expand, then the result is the next time that cycle loops around to its beginning, we'll find ourselves in a better, more effective place to deal with the particular problem, whatever it is. So we learn. In other words, we learn as we're going along. One of the things I'm seeing as I'm looking into the Ancestral Collective is that if we look back through time and things get a little foggy or vague, what it means is we have this opportunity to let our awareness fall back into time, into what we think of as the past, and to follow a thread which takes us down an emotionally dense or dark into a dark place, or to follow an emotional thread that takes us into a lighter place. What we really want, of course, is to be able to follow that thread of absolute balance that allows us to expand awareness to embrace the totality of the experience and understand it, know it as all its possible virtual outcomes at the same time. By doing that, it's possible to hold a very balanced understanding of the past experience and to extract the greatest possible evolutionary value from the experience. Because you can't be dumb, right? If something happens, you have to learn from it. You can't just go, oh, it was happy. Oh, it was fine. It's fine. No, if it's not fine, it's not fine. But at the same time, it's valuable to understand that there are tremendous gifts that come from every experience. And so we're putting together, as we look to the past, allowing awareness to expand. And this is, I'm saying this for the ancestors mostly, because their tendency is to follow a single thread. And this is our nature as humans, that our awareness likes to follow along a particular thread. But the thing is, the thread itself can get bigger. It can be a bigger, fuller, thicker, more comprehensive thread of awareness. So that's what we're doing. And I'm just looking into everybody's physiology right now, into the astral level of the physiology, because that's where consciousness is experienced and understood and manipulated as threads. Not that the word manipulation is the greatest word, but the idea that we have some control over our awareness. That's human nature, is to have control over awareness. So you're doing it. So what this really is an upgrade for everybody's astral bodies to expand the capacity to move awareness through that eternal now in ever broader values of comprehension, so that every experience can be interpreted in its most holistic, from the most holistic perspective. From that perspective, the lessons learned and the expansion of consciousness dominates. The discord or discomfort from the experience is seen as a tool which allows us to leverage the very highest and most expanded understanding from the experience. This is like extracting the most nutritional value out of your food, right? We can take the food, but if the body's like, well, I'm just going to use this one little part and I'm throwing away all this other good stuff. No, no, no. We can take, even at a molecular level, even for the ancestors, it's possible to follow the path which awareness takes to its own source. And the source of creation is moving through the entire field of life, including our physiologies, including the body of our experience, including our thinking process, including the way we feel about things, for the sake of expansion. We live in an expanding universe. So this is the whole premise behind this healing is to support the ability to see the past experiences in the broadest possible perspective, and then to leverage the evolutionary value from that experience and shine it on the future experience so that we are able to think about the future, think about the present and conditions under which we live now, and then see them in the light of the very highest and best possible outcome. It doesn't mean that you won't face challenges and you won't learn lessons in the future. It just means that you will get more evolutionary value out of those lessons as you move through your life experience. I'm seeing grace rising from the causal level of the physiology. That means the deepest feeling level of the physiology, the most abstract level of your manifest self, is humming or resonating with this value of grace. I'm also seeing integration in the astral body and in the cord of light, which runs down the center of the physiology. And that integration is present to bring together the opposing values of the difficulty that we go through, that particularly with regards to past experiences and future experiences. Those difficulties, bringing them together hand in hand with the lessons learned, the resources gained, and the expansion of consciousness that evolved from that experience. So integration and grace are resonating at the causal level of the physiology. These two structures are basic healing structures to stabilize the foundation of the physiology, definitely affecting the lower chakras 1, 2, and 3, particularly the third chakra. These are the lower chakras are the foundation for the upper part of the physiology. So it's really important to have that sense of stability and also a sense of access to resources, because the experience of anxiety evolves from that feeling of not being enough, not having enough, not feeling as if you have any power or control over a situation. So stability is now integrating in the 3 lower chakras, and I'm just seeing that in everybody, taking a read for everybody along this YouTube thread, checking particularly third chakras, checking particularly at the back of the body where that third chakra energy is, and looks like clearing also at that level. And also the other 2, the first and second chakra, clearing some cords or threads connected to the web of life. It seems as if very often the lack of stability in that area is a byproduct of connections with the environment. And that ties into the last part of this 3-part series, where we're going to talk about integration or unity with the collective. So thanks for being with me for this part of the healing. I hope you check out the second video on energy healing for anxiety. And I'm grateful to have had this time with you. Bye.